Namaste, dzień dobry, ciao, ni hao, hola. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Ken at 10. Welcome. If you've not been here before, then thank you very much for stumbling upon us. And I hope you'll stay with us for this little show. We are estate agents based in Southwest London, Southwest 16 to be precise. And we talk about all things property, general news and what's going on. So I hope you're doing well today. We're certainly looking at a good day today. In terms of the weather, a little bit chillier today. You're really feeling that autumn is here in London. It's got that kind of, it's a nice enough day. You know, it's not actually raining or anything, but it's just got that feeling of, you know, we're definitely heading towards the winter and autumn is definitely with us. So in terms of the day ahead today, busy again, lots of offers coming in and many new instructions coming up. We're excited to tell you about. Did a new video yesterday. I hope you all liked it. If you're watching us, do give us a shout out and tell us you're there, because it's always nice to know that I'm not sitting here talking to myself. You know, don't know why. Just looking into a lens sometimes can feel a little bit weird. Compromises on property. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was, you know, when you look at a property, and I'm always saying, you know, people say to me, oh, I can't find what I want. And I always respond, especially in a market like today, where if you can't find what you want where you want, then think about it, step back from it emotionally and say to yourself, well, what can I compromise on? Can I go for maybe a bedroom less, a smaller garden, maybe no garage, maybe one parking space instead of two, maybe terraced instead of semi, and so on. And if you find that all those compromises don't work, then you could go for a slightly strange compromise. A good example here today in the paper, Dennis Nielsen. You may remember an awful serial killer. The attic flat where he lived has just had 100,000 slashed from the price to sell it. He murdered 3 men in the property in Cranley Gardens, Muswell Hill, and it was valued at 375, but made only 285 due to its past. Interesting, isn't it, that people will still buy it at the right price? I mean, no doubt the reputation of that will go down through the generations, but someone will still buy it. And that goes to show something else as well, doesn't it? Everything sells sooner or later. I was having a chat with a client yesterday, and they were saying to me, I'm not sure whether it's a good time to move. And they're actually moving out of the area, moving to a completely new area, but they have lots of equity in their own property. And they said to me, we're a bit worried about the market. You know, we're not sure what's going to happen in the future. And I said, yeah, I agree. I think, you know, we all understand that, don't we? We all respect that it's in extraordinary times with the pandemic, and you never quite know what's around the corner. Could be the perfect storm, couldn't it? You know, we've got coronavirus, we've got Brexit and the pandemic together. And then, of course, the ending of the stamp duty and the furlough scheme, all diverging together. And rightly, people are concerned about that. And I don't want to make light of it because it's serious stuff. But the other side of it is this impacts globally, doesn't it? It impacts the whole country, not just you locally. So, for instance, if you do happen to sell now and you sell for a high price and you buy for a high price and the market falls, well, it's same, isn't it? Because where you're going to will also fall a similar proportion to where you're actually selling or where you lived previously. There is an argument that the out-of-town areas will pick up more in the coming years. And you can understand why. When people are now used to working from home, that becomes the new norm. Some of the suburbs of London are becoming more popular as people choose not to go in, and they're talking about a donut-shaped recovery, about donut-shaped government as well. Come to that in terms of what's going on, but that's another story. So yeah, in terms of, is it a good time to move? I'll tell you why I think it's a good time to move right now. It's not about what the market's doing. It's not about where prices are. It's not about that you'll get a particularly high or low price. What it's about is simply this: supply. The one thing that you need when you've sold your home is somewhere to go. And if supply is low, then the likelihood of you finding somewhere is reduced catastrophically in some occasions. And on many occasions in the last few years, my problem has been not selling properties for my clients, but them then finding somewhere to move on to. And in a market like today, that's really changed because there is the supply now. People are deciding this is an opportunity to sell. Let's get our properties on the market and get moving. So I think it's a very good time from that point of view. And if you think about the pot of money, if you, for instance, got equity of 50% in your home and you're moving to a new area, think about the 300,000 or whatever it is that you're moving as a pot of money that's just moving from that asset to the new asset. Then what the market does after that is academic. But the key thing is that you found the home that you want to move to. Why did you find it? Because supply is good, and therefore you're more likely to find it. Did you pay a bit more? Yes, but you sold for a bit more. Do you see? So it's a balancing factor. For first-time buyers coming in, I know it's a scary time. And as you know, I'm very, very frustrated for the way that building societies and banks are shying away from first-time buyers as a customer base. And in fact, we see today there are now more mortgage options for the over 50s. Why? Because they've got equity. They're a safe bet. So the banks are hitting them hard and looking to make their profit in that area. And I'd rather see it the other way around in a way. But now there are all sorts of products for those over 50. It's not mortgage advice, but for instance, you've got retirement interest only, equity release. You know, historically, it was pension age. And now there are loans that are going over 80. And actually, the Nationwide have got a deal that goes over 95 to 95. Can you imagine? If you're still here at 95, you can still get a loan. It just seems crazy, doesn't it? Property transactions. Do you know last year, £607 million was lost through fall-throughs on home buying due to the system in the UK? It's extraordinary, isn't it? But that's actually better than it was last year. But it does go to show the weird system we have in this country where we kind of agree a sale and then so much can go wrong in between. And I think it might be time, you know, we're talking for a while now about how inefficient the system is, and it might well be time to look at reviewing that, because I really do think that, you know, they tried the home buyers, the sellers packs before, it didn't work. We've got the EPCs already. Wouldn't be a big step now to get a pre-sellers pack ready. We do it at auctions already, and those auction sales, you know, they fly through. Why? Because the information's there prior to the sale, and there's no reason why that sort of thing couldn't work today. I'd like to see that changed as well. Now, tomorrow we've got a treat for you. We've got some guerrilla knitters. In Norbury, there's this group of people that literally knit bomb places. I know that sounds really weird, but you'll find that, for instance, when it's Halloween, you'll suddenly find some spooky knitting hanging from local trees and stuff. They call themselves the guerrilla knitters. They're a great fun group of ladies. And Brenda may be one of them. I'm not sure we can actually admit that because, you know, it's a secret. But she's coming on to be interviewed tomorrow. She's also a great local character, really strong member of and often chair of local residents group, the Pollard's Hill Residents Association. So it'd be really interesting talking to her tomorrow. She's coming on at midday. So do look out for that and join us for this week's Isolation Inspiration. I want to do a few more of those as well to show you some of our lovely people out there. I've just got a question coming up here. Why are you finding landlords are flooding to sell in the light of the new eviction policy? SC, hello. Thanks for your comment. That's an interesting question. We are finding some landlords are selling. And yes, I think the eviction policy is making landlords rethink what they're doing. And it does depend on the stage. I mean, we're also finding new landlords coming in to invest, people looking to supplement their pensions. So it's going both ways. We're seeing landlords selling. They're taking advantage of a busy market and the equity that they've realized. In some cases, it's because they need the cash flow. Simple as that they've got cash tied up in the property. And the way property prices have moved here in London, lots of people have got lots of equity sloshing around, and they're choosing to release that in many cases now. It's also not just the eviction policy, SC. It's also about the new tax regime where it's less tax efficient than it was. You know, we can no longer offset the interest payments. There's no longer the 10% write down. So the government have pushed landlords very hard, and they're losing landlords, definitely. We are finding now that tenants are struggling to find new accommodation because many of our landlords have been selling up, and that's not good for tenants either. It doesn't actually serve a purpose. They should be looking to encourage and support landlords, especially in this time. And in fact, they're supporting tenants, and we get that. But it has to go the other way. And they have to start realizing that so many landlords rely on their rent as income. And the frustration caused by the pandemic won't just mean that people are selling out of their buy-to-lets. It will mean that they run a mile from ever doing it again. So it's a very good point. And yes, there are, I wouldn't say they're flooding, but there are a number of landlords that are now selling that wouldn't do so in a normal market, partly because of the pandemic rules and partly because they take advantage of the busy market, really. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks for dropping that in. So yeah, Brenda tomorrow, Isolation Inspiration. I hope you can join us for that. Interesting listening to Boris yesterday, wasn't it? You know, sort of shocking to think that we might be in for a second wave. But if you watch this show regularly, you'll know from our Isolation Inspiration interview with Georgia Ladbury-Gallivant that it was actually predicted at the very beginning of the first pandemic by her that this was likely to happen. And here we are. So we're going to get her back on as well to chat to you and let you know what's going on there. And because of this, we are looking to do some more Isolation Inspiration interviews as well to keep you entertained over the days and keep you in touch, because I think that's the important thing, isn't it? We can all feel very isolated in these times. And from our point of view, to protect our staff and our customers, we're now keeping the front door locked and only letting people in where we really need to. Wherever possible, we're asking people, if they come to the door, to actually call us. So even though they're right outside the door speaking to us, the risk of transmission is that much smaller. And I think you have to, don't you? Because in the end, we're looking to protect us, our staff, and of course our customers. And the only way we can do that is by being as strict as we can on our procedures to make sure we're as safe as we can possibly be. Hope you understand that, folks. Tough times out there. One thing I did see that I thought was a lovely comment, and I'll leave you with this one. Quote of the week: "We separate now, so there are more of us to come together later." Simple but good, isn't it? We separate now, so that there are more of us to come together later. Just a thought to leave you with in these horrible times. Frustrating, isn't it? So I hope you're well. Look after your families. Have a great day. And I'll be back to you tomorrow for another Ken at 10. Stay safe. Take care.